For as long as anyone can remember, Iceland has held a very cool and very enviable title. Next to Antarctica, it was one of the only places on Earth completely free of humanity's most annoying pest, the mosquito. It was a biological fact, a point of national pride, and just a nice little perk for residents and the millions of tourists who visit. Generations of Icelanders grew up without that buzzing, without the bites, and without the bother. But in October of 2025, that perfect record came to a screeching halt. The story of how it all went down doesn't start in some high-tech lab. It starts in a quiet garden in the small community of Kiðafell, not far from Reykjavik. On the cool evening of October 16th, an insect enthusiast named Bjarne Halldórsson was checking his wine ropes, just strips of fabric soaked in red wine and sugar to attract moths. And that's when he saw something on the rope he'd never seen before. It looked a bit like a fly, but different. Alien. He caught the strange insect, a female. His suspicion grew. The next day another one showed up. This time a male, which you can tell by its feathery antennae. On day 3, a second female appeared. With 3 specimens, Bjarne knew this wasn't just a fluke. He got in touch with the Icelandic Institute of Natural History, and just like that, Iceland's mosquito-free streak was over. This is the story of how that fortress was breached, what it means for Iceland, and what it's telling the rest of us. When Bjarne's 3 insects arrived at the Icelandic Institute of Natural History, entomologist Matthias Alfredsson confirmed the country's long-held fear. Looking at them under a microscope, there was no doubt. These weren't weird flies or some local bug he didn't recognize. They were, without a doubt, mosquitoes. The species was identified as Culiseta annulata, also known as the banded mosquito. Now, this wasn't some tropical mosquito that snuck in from a warm climate. This species is all over Europe from North Africa to Siberia. It is a big, tough mosquito known for one very important thing. It's exceptionally tolerant of the cold. Unlike other bugs that die off in the fall, adult Culiseta annulata can actually survive brutal winters. They do it by going into a kind of hibernation, hiding out in protected spots like barns, cellars, and sheds. This was the first clue to the mystery. If any mosquito was going to be the first to make it in Iceland, it would be a rugged survivor like this one, already used to the cold, and finding 2 females and a male. That was a big deal. It meant this probably wasn't just a single lonely mosquito that hitched a ride on a plane, which has happened before without them ever setting up shop. Finding both sexes opened up the scary possibility that they could be breeding. That this wasn't just an arrival, but the start of a settlement. As Bjarne Halldórsson himself put it on a Facebook group for insect lovers, the last fortress has fallen. For centuries, Iceland's main defense against mosquitoes was its wild, unpredictable climate. It wasn't just about being cold. The weather acted like a natural reset button. Mosquitoes need calm, standing water for their larvae to hatch and grow up. But Iceland's weather is famous for its sudden freeze-thaw cycles. Puddles that could be perfect mosquito nurseries would freeze over in a flash, killing any larvae before they could become adults. This constant disruption was the island's shield. So how did Culiseta annulata finally get past this barrier in 2025? Scientists think it was a perfect storm of 2 things we're all familiar with: human activity and climate change. First, the most likely theory, they hitched a ride. With more international travel and shipping than ever, we're basically running a global taxi service for invasive species. Mosquitoes or their eggs can easily stow away in a plane's cargo hold, a shipping container, or even an old tire. The man who found them, Bjarne Halldórsson, thinks a nearby industrial port just a few kilometers away could have been the port of entry. It is totally plausible that a few dormant adult mosquitoes arrived on a freight shipment and, for the first time in history, found the local environment survivable. And that brings us to the second, much bigger reason: our changing climate. The Arctic is warming up about 4 times faster than the rest of the northern hemisphere. Iceland has seen the effects firsthand, with record-breaking heat waves in 2025, shrinking glaciers and fish from warmer waters showing up off its coasts. This rapid warming is breaking that reset button defense. Winters are getting milder, and the sudden, Larva-killing freezes are happening less often, creating a stable window of time for insects to grow. The arrival of this mosquito wasn't really a random accident. It was an expected outcome. Scientists had been warning for years that as Iceland warmed, it wasn't a question of if mosquitoes would arrive, but when. The discovery in October 2025 was simply proof that the environment had finally crossed a line. If you are finding this story as fascinating as we do us a favor and hit the like button. It really helps the channel tell more stories about our wild, changing world. Now, if you've ever been to Iceland in the summer, you might be scratching your head and your arms. You might be thinking, hang on, I've been to Iceland, and I was definitely swarmed by something that looked and felt like mosquitoes. And you wouldn't be wrong about the swarming, but you'd be wrong about the bug. For thousands of years, Iceland has had its own flying pests, midges. Specifically, we're talking about black flies and non-biting midges. They're so famous there's a lake in the north, literally named after them, Lake Mydvatn, which means Midge Lake. These guys are often mistaken for mosquitoes, but they're very different. First, you have the non-biting midges. Ecologically, they're super important. Their larvae are a key food source for fish, and the adults are food for birds. They can emerge in these huge, thick clouds that are incredibly annoying. They'll fly in your mouth, up your nose, but they're harmless. They don't have the needle-like mouth or proboscis to actually bite you. Then you have the biters. These are black flies, a type of midge that absolutely does bite. But its method is way more brutal than a mosquito's. A mosquito uses its proboscis like a delicate surgical needle to sip blood. A black fly's mouth is more like a pair of tiny, jagged knives. It literally slashes your skin open and then laps up the pool of blood. The bite is often more painful, and the itchy mark it leaves can last for weeks. But even with these nasty biters, there is a huge difference. Iceland's native midges don't transmit diseases to humans. They're a nuisance, not a public health threat. And that is the real worry here. The arrival of a true mosquito, Culiseta annulata, introduces a whole new kind of insect to the ecosystem. One from a family that is infamous for being the deadliest animal in the world because of the diseases it spreads. So, what does this tiny invader actually mean for Iceland? For now, the immediate public health risk from Culiseta annulata is pretty low. While it does bite, this particular species isn't known to carry major human diseases like malaria or Zika in this part of the world. The immediate threat isn't a disease outbreak, but a new buzzing, biting annoyance in the summer. The real importance of this discovery, though, isn't the insect itself, but what it signals. This mosquito is a bioindicator, a living, breathing alarm bell for a massive ecological shift. Its arrival proves that Iceland's environment has changed so much that it can now support a species it has rejected for thousands of years. And if this cold-loving mosquito can make a home here, it opens the door for other, more dangerous species to follow, as the climate keeps warming. The impact on the local ecosystem is still a big question mark. A new species can create unpredictable ripples. Mosquito larvae might start competing with native midge larvae for food, which could mess with the food chain for fish and birds. A new prey animal could also attract new predators. Some entomologists have pointed out that as mosquitoes move north in Europe, so do their predators, like the emperor dragonfly. Iceland's entire food web is facing a new player it has never had to deal with before. This discovery has led to calls for a much better system for monitoring insects across the Arctic. Because right now, we just don't have the data. We can't track changes if we're not even looking. Those 3 mosquitoes in Bordian Altison's garden could be a few isolated stragglers, or they could be the first sign of a much larger population. Only time and a lot of careful watching will tell if they survive the winter and start a permanent breeding population. For now, you don't need to start packing heavy-duty mosquito spray for your trip to Iceland, though a head net for the midges around Mydvatn is still a fantastic idea. The discovery of Culiseta annulata isn't a public health crisis yet. It's something more subtle and maybe more profound. It is the quiet official end of a biological era. The island of fire and ice, once a natural fortress against one of the planet's most widespread pests, has been breached. And the cause wasn't a single event, but a global shift that is redrawing the map for life all over the world. This tiny insect's trip to a garden in Kjess is a small, simple story that shows us a massive, complicated phenomenon in action. It's a reminder that what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. The warming of our planet isn't just an abstract number. It is a force that can bring a buzzing, biting reality to one of the last places on Earth you'd ever expect it. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about how our world is changing in surprising ways, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell for more stories from the front lines of our planet.